Women are but instruments for the continuation of lineage. Napoleon once declared, his voice cutting through time with a cold, brutal precision that still unsettles today. At first hearing, the statement crashes against the ears, sounding callous, even savage, a relic of a harsher world. But to brush it off as simple misogyny is to miss the tragic depth buried beneath its sharpness. Hidden within those few words is a brutal confession about the cost of greatness, a reality most are too terrified to confront. True greatness, the kind that bends history and reshapes civilizations, does not grow in the soil of comfort, nor flourish in the warmth of domestic affection. It demands everything. It consumes the soul, devours tenderness, and leaves no corner of a man's life untouched. Greatness is not a companion. It is a tyrant. It hollows out the man who dares to pursue it, stripping away his ability to belong, to linger, to be soft. In the pursuit of legacy, of conquest, of immortality, there is no room left for the slow rituals of ordinary love. There is only the relentless march forward, a march that demands the sacrifice of everything familiar, everything safe, everything human. Greatness does not share space. It takes it, all of it. Power, ambition, vision. These are not gifts freely given. They are brutal debts that demand everything in return. The men who carve their names into the marrow of history do not get there by accident, nor by the gentle path of belonging. Before they can ever hope to command the world, they must first sever the deepest human desires. The yearning to be claimed, to be loved without condition, to be someone's home. They forfeit the soft shelter of a woman's arms, the steady comfort of a family's embrace, even the pride of calling a single nation their own. They belong to nothing but the storm that drives them, to destiny itself, a master colder and more merciless than any tyrant. And destiny does not share its servants. It devours them whole. Napoleon didn't stumble upon this truth by reading lofty theories or ancient scrolls. He was dragged into it, body and soul, by a life lived in relentless battle, bleeding on fields of conquest, betrayed in the halls of love, and haunted by losses no crown could ever compensate. He did not study ambition, he became its sacrifice. While he forged empires with iron in one hand and fire in the other, while he bent the wills of kings and reshaped the fate of entire nations, Napoleon still found himself clinging to something far more fragile: love. In the stolen moments between battles, he poured himself into letters, raw, desperate, aching words penned to Josephine, hoping for warmth, for loyalty, for some anchor to hold him in a world of chaos. But what met him was not devotion. It was a cold and cutting indifference, a betrayal that stung deeper than any enemy's blade. While he built dreams of immortality atop mountains of sacrifice, she sought fleeting comfort in the arms of others. And in those bitter silences, in those unanswered cries across the void, Napoleon stumbled upon a brutal revelation, a truth as old as ambition itself. Not every woman yearns for a man chasing destiny. Most retreat from him, not out of hatred, but out of terror, because a man who belongs to the future cannot be possessed by the present. He cannot be tamed. He cannot be made safe. And that, more than any cruelty, is what drives them away. True greatness, raw, untamed greatness, is a wildfire that refuses to be bottled or caged. It does not sit politely at dinner tables or mold itself to the soft routines of ordinary life. It rages, it consumes, it demands. It has no patience to pause for every misunderstanding, no time to apologize for the storms it carries. A man in pursuit of destiny is not simply living. He is fighting invisible wars inside his mind, hammering armor in the depths of his soul, preparing for battles no one else can see. And in the furnace of that becoming, there is no room for endless soothing, no energy left for the delicate tending of every fragile feeling. His spirit is forged in fire, not comfort, and anyone who demands constant warmth will be left standing in the cold winds of his ambition, wondering why they cannot hold what was never meant to be tamed. For many, standing in the shadow of a man who chases destiny feels like being abandoned at the altar of their own needs. It feels like neglect, like a quiet erosion of their importance. Every absence, every silence, every moment of intense focus not given to them becomes a wound, a reminder of how small and powerless they truly feel beside such a force. It stirs a deep, aching discomfort they cannot easily name. And so, almost without realizing it, they begin to turn away. They seek what is more manageable, more tame. A man whose fire burns just enough to keep them warm, but never enough to threaten their sense of control. They yearn for predictability, for the easy rhythm of lives that do not strain towards something larger than themselves. They look for men who circle gently around them, like loyal moons around a fragile planet, instead of men who revolve around a distant, blinding star of ambition and vision. They choose companions who are content with building nests, small, soft spaces of fleeting comfort, rather than forging legacies that will echo long after both their names are dust. It is safer that way. Safer to be with a man who seeks warmth, not conquest. Safer to remain in the known, rather than risk being swallowed by the hunger for something immortal. Mediocrity is a soft bed that many gladly sink into. It is easy, unthreatening, and comfortably close. Greatness, by contrast, is jagged, untamed, and almost impossible to live beside without feeling its blistering heat. The mediocre man offers something deceptively attractive. He offers constant availability instead of a consuming sense of purpose. His world does not stretch toward distant horizons or burn with the fever of impossible dreams. Instead, it contracts around passing moods, fleeting insecurities, and shallow fears. His battles are small and mostly internal, never spilling over into grand visions or world-shaking revolutions. And it is this very smallness that ironically makes him desirable to many. Not because he is truly admirable, not because he inspires awe or deep respect, but because he is perpetually within reach, because he demands nothing extraordinary from those around him. His presence feels safe, predictable, and easily managed, like a shallow river that never threatens to flood its banks. In his accessibility, he promises comfort, not challenge, warmth, not fire, familiarity, not the terrifying vastness of destiny. Napoleon knew this. He did not declare that women are machines for bearing children out of bitterness. He said it as a man who had watched devotion wither under the heat of destiny's fire. He saw that many people, men and women alike, are wired for survival, not for transcendence. They seek comfort over conquest, stability over storm. But the man who dreams of legacy is not living to merely survive. He is living to transcend. And transcendence is, by its very nature, a lonely, brutal thing. Even today, the world sings songs about greatness, but only from a safe distance. It applauds excellence when it entertains, when it soothes, when it does not threaten. But the man who embodies true power, the man who does not apologize for his existence, who refuses to dilute his fire, he unsettles people. He forces them to confront their own mediocrity. Napoleon lived this paradox until it carved itself into his bones. A man who commanded millions could not command the loyalty of the woman he loved. A man who reshaped continents stood powerless before the indifference of one heart. Because true power does not seduce the heart in the way comfort does. It is easier to love a soft man. It is easier to love a man who promises you today, not one who demands you rise for eternity. Even now, many men fall for the lie that if they just become stronger, richer, better, they will be loved more. But the truth is colder. Greatness does not breed affection. It breeds distance. It breeds resentment. It shines a painful light on the compromises others have made, and few can bear that reflection. Thus, many women, and many people, subconsciously reach for the man they can predict, manage, control, because to stand beside a great man is to live beside a fire you cannot tame. To live beside a man who, at any moment, may vanish into wars larger than you. The truth is brutal. People praise ambition with words, but build lives with predictability. They say they want kings, but they marry servants dressed like kings, men whose crowns are made of paper, whose greatness is performative, not real. Napoleon did not stop loving because he lacked a heart. He stopped loving because he realized love, as most people understand it, demands a domestication he could never afford. A man cannot build an empire and be emotionally available for every insecurity, every mood, every small craving for validation. The fire that makes him a conqueror is the same fire that makes him unreachable. This is the cost of destiny, the price of sovereignty. Even lions, kings of the wild, die alone, not because they want to, but because they must. Look around you. The costumes change. The story never does. The men who move mountains are worshipped by history, but loved only rarely, only by those rare few who are not afraid of the heights. Most people will always prefer comfort over conquest, familiarity over freedom, dependence over danger. Napoleon learned the bitter truth. You can command armies, shatter kingdoms, write your name into the stone of history, and still return home to betrayal. Because the human heart, when untrained, hungers for warmth, not for greatness. And in today's world, a world demanding emotional fluency, constant accessibility, endless softness, greatness becomes a crime. The man who climbs alone, dreams alone, and refuses to apologize for his silence becomes intolerable. His vision is branded neglect. His obsession is called coldness. His strength is mistaken for cruelty. But the man of destiny cannot, must not, apologize. He must ascend, or he must die trying. Napoleon was demonized not just for what he conquered, but because he refused to kneel before comfort. He would rather be hated by the world than betray the flame burning inside him. And so, he walked alone. Every man who dares to rise must prepare for this exile. Prepare to be unloved. Prepare to be misunderstood. Prepare to be cast aside by those who once swore loyalty when the price was low. Understand this. The more you build, the less you belong. The higher you climb, the thinner the air, and the fewer the companions. Because love asks for presence. Greatness demands absence. Love asks for attention. Greatness demands obsession. Love asks for compromise. Greatness demands sacrifice. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot be both fully loved and fully great. If you try, you will lose both. This isn't cynicism. It's reality, ancient, brutal, and undeniable. The man who chases legacy must surrender the hope of being fully understood. He must bear being called cold, arrogant, heartless, not because he is these things, but because he sees a future others are too timid to imagine. A woman who truly loves a great man does not try to own him. She walks beside him, quietly, without needing to be the center of his world. She loves the fire, not just the warmth. But such women are rare as greatness itself. Most people, men and women, would rather love someone who needs them, not someone who needs nothing, because a man who needs nothing terrifies them. A man of destiny, merely by existing, becomes a mirror that forces others to face their own wasted potential. And most would rather break the mirror than see the truth. So they choose safety. They choose predictability. And the man who refuses to kneel must walk his lonely path, unbroken by the loneliness that shadows him. Remember, you were not rejected because you were lacking. You were rejected because your fire demanded others confront their own cowardice. You are not the lullaby the world craves. You are the storm it fears. And storms are not loved. They are survived, revered, remembered. So do not envy the man who is adored by all. His adoration is cheap. His existence is small. He will never carve his soul into the stone of eternity. But you who burn in the night, you must keep going. Not for love, not for validation, but because you were born not for comfort, but for conquest. In the end, no songs are sung for the tame. No monuments are raised for the safe. No legends are told of those who merely existed, only of those who dared. And though the world may fear you, betray you, exile you, it will never, ever forget your name. Because greatness, though it costs you everything, etches you into eternity. Choose wisely. Choose greatness.